I love your story just because I think what you're saying, like so many moms go through this and so many women go through trying to conceive and, thinking it's something wrong with them or thinking, they did something. And so I think there's so much, positivity and hope in your story, like you're saying. So like wow, for moms listening or women listening that are, in that journey right now, what did you do to keep yourself positive through this journey? And I'm sure not all days were positive. I'm sure you had some rough days. So how did you kind of keep pushing in those hard times?
Like I just mentioned, it's extremely difficult to feel like you're not going through this alone. And a big part of the reason I'm sharing my story today is I remember what it felt like to hear others telling their stories of success. And even though I didn't talk to a lot of people about what I was going through at the time, I highly encourage doing that just because once you've identified somebody who's going through something similar, it's like, oh my gosh, like you're part of my world, like you get this. And really, as far as staying positive, there's a lot of people who, on message boards on Facebook would say, at what point do you give up? When do you stop trying? And to be honest, like there were definitely those angry moments where I thought, oh, we're not doing this. Like, I'm so mad at the world. I'm so mad at God. I don't want to try this any longer. It's just not meant to be. But what I did tell myself was, what else am I doing? Like, why would I stop trying? Why would I give up? And that with every failed attempt, I felt like my odds of success increased. And I think that's really a key point to tell yourself is, whether you've had one miscarriage or three or four, your odds are increasing every time that happens. As hard and as difficult as that experience is, with each negative experience, the odds of something wonderful happening just increase. And so that really got me through. A couple of the things that I did personally to help was keeping a daily log of what I ate, of the exercises that I did, because you want something tangible to kind of reassure you that you're doing something proactive. And by writing things down in a journal, that was very, very helpful. I wish I hadn't waited so long to see a specialist, but I just, looking back, had no idea that they would offer so much help without any type of really invasive treatment. So that's really just the best advice I could give as far as staying positive is, choose faith over fear every day. And again, you're going to get closer to success with every attempt that you make.
While you're pregnant with your son, were there any other precautions you had to take or extra like doctor's appointments you had to make sure, they could just watch a little more closely?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first trimester, I was still seeing the fertility specialist. So they had me going in weekly, which was amazing because, again, this was right when COVID started, and a lot of the doctor's offices were not seeing any new patients. All elective procedures were put on hold. And just from different Facebook groups and through the grapevine, I was aware that other people, they weren't even able to go in for these weekly appointments when they were trying to conceive and once they were pregnant. I actually had scheduled an appointment to see a doctor in Chicago. I was supposed to go up there, I think, in March to see a recurrent loss specialist, and they canceled the appointment because of COVID. And then another precaution that I had taken personally was I was going to stop going to the gym just because, as an avid fitness enthusiast, I know at some points I probably was working out a bit too often or too intensely, or at least that's how I saw it in my mind. And so with each miscarriage, I kind of eased up on my workouts and said, once I have this next pregnancy, I'm going to walk outside. I'm not going to the gym. Well, lo and behold, I'm pregnant and the gym's closed because there's a pandemic. So I couldn't go to the gym even if I wanted to, which was really, again, just kind of a sign from God saying, like, I've got this. You have no control over this pregnancy. Just do what you're doing, stay positive, and keep going. I also, within the few months prior to that pregnancy, had just become more aware of my gluten and dairy intake. I can't say that's what helped me sustain this pregnancy, but based on the research that I've read, it indicates that that definitely could be a part of it as well. So that's worth experimenting with, to listeners out there. If you are considering that, definitely do some research, ask people in the industry about it, and give it a try.
Yeah, and I love what you're saying just about like evaluating your life. And, I'm sure there's not just one thing that, makes it, for everyone, makes it easier for everyone to get pregnant. But I think it's cool that you were able to be like, okay, I'm gonna make these changes. I'm gonna do this research for myself and just, know that I'm actually doing something tangible that I think is gonna help me. So that's
Yep.
I think that's great. Because everyone is so different. So what's gonna help one mom may help, someone else
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say to my fitness clients as well is you might not necessarily do well on a keto diet or a plant-based diet. We need to find what works for you. It's the same way when you're trying to conceive. Somebody might get pregnant after 4 attempts. It might take you, a year and a half or 5 years. It varies so much, so you can't compare yourself to other people.